DeBella is a governor of this lovely state of Connecticut, and she, at the beginning, is in the throes of a campaign for senator. She is at home, like in beginning of the pandemic, like everybody trying to juggle family, life, and work. I love him so much, Leslie Odom Jr. Leslie Odom Jr. and I also had been working as husband and wife in an animated show called Central Park, in which we sing together and act together. And we had been doing that for like maybe a year and a half beforehand, and had never really, in animation, you never really meet the people that you're working with. So this was the first time that we had actually, even though we had been, I was like, So it was a dream to work with him. He is a peach. Love him so much. In the pre-production process, he was very collaborative in terms of, and with Jenny, Jenny Egan, our costume designer, who's brilliant, in terms of kind of finding who we were through the costume within the kind of, I guess, the instrument that each character is in the orchestra of the score of this piece. Like the first one, like everyone definitely has its own, every person has their own note that they're playing. And so we have had a lot of flexibility within that. I really had to embrace the fact that it was beige all the time. I went in for the first fitting with Jenny and I was like, okay. Because I saw Kate's rack, saw Janelle's rack, and then I saw Claire's rack. And I was like, okay, it's gonna be a lot of cork wedges. Flats, not even a wedge. I wish it was a wedge. And I was like, I get to work with you and I get to wear a beige shift. You know what? It was comfortable.
He wanted to meet me before I read it. He said, I'm going to send it to you, but I want you to know that he's not there yet. I know that. And so I'm looking to collaborate with somebody. I'm looking to build Lionel with somebody who wants to jump in. And so I read it knowing that. I read it, I loved the script, and I had some ideas about, without changing a word of dialogue, I just had some ideas about how we might help Lionel pop and bring some value to his presence. And thank goodness Ryan agreed, or liked some of the ideas, and we said, let's do it. Lionel's a scientist at this company that's run by a dear friend of his, and it's that thing that can sometimes happen when the personal and professional lines cross. When I think Lionel is, it's probably time for him to move on, but the personal ties that he has with Miles and the ways that he feels taken advantage of and the ways that he feels manipulated, kind of are at odds with his professional ambition. And so he's coming in fraught with, there are both personal and professional things that he's dissatisfied with, and he's trying to, find his own voice to say these things. So yeah, he's coming in with a lot of stuff going on inside him.
So this is Benoit Blanc, played by our wonderful Daniel Craig, reprising his role as Benoit Blanc again. And this is his Mediterranean look. We wanted to change him up a little bit and push him a little bit more modern, but still keeping that old Hollywood glamour feel to him. Maybe a little Cary Grant, maybe a little, there's also a little hat that he wears at times, so there's a little comedy in as well. Benoit's got that such wit and character about him. But, we wanted to also make it lightweight and, silk and linen, so he could actually breathe in this really hot Greek Mediterranean heat. And the high-waisted pleated trouser just really gives it it's a nice past, but yet it's a very future, handsome style choice, I think. But with the two-tone shoes, it just keeps you there, but a very modern shape on him. And so it keeps, it's fun and new, and he looks fantastic. This is her character Andy, and this is also her dinner costume, which we wanted to make her sophisticated. So it's a kind of a take on a tuxedo, a female tuxedo, with a little bow. You can see maybe it's a bow tie, but we have the silk, and then we also have the tuxedo striped pants. So this is her. It's a nice dinner, that they wanted to dress up. They're all very wealthy and well-to-do, and we wanted to sell that by really special fabrics, this wool and this silk. And she has to be very active, as you know, in the film. So we needed to make it appropriate for her to move around. She's going on search, and she knows what she's going to do. So she wanted to be prepared, but also, with some class and some strength and power within this. So the masculine meeting the feminine was something really important that we talked about for this particular costume. We have Lionel, who's played by Leslie Odom Jr., and in his, we wanted a very sleek, with the tone of this, we just wanted to be very strong, but very subtle. His character is there's mystery in Lionel. You don't really know much about him. And, although he's a scientist, we wanted to take it different. We wanted to make it, with some cultural direction to it, and also make it feel like just because, you're highly intelligent and studying all this other stuff doesn't mean you can't have style. And, I think it's so sleek in the green, and with the hat, it just gives him such an edge to everyone else. And you still don't really know who he is, but he's got a lot of great taste. And this is our lovely Birdie, played by Kate Hudson. And, Birdie's character is very glamorous, ex-model, but she's so playful and she's so fun. And the rainbow, obviously there's some choice things that Birdie chooses to say and do in her life. And we wanted to represent this by speaking loudly and giving it such, I don't know what we wanted to do with it, but we just wanted to make it something really special. And Ryan really wanted the spin and this colorful, and it almost is like an illusion. It's almost like a visual effect in and of itself when she does her spin. So it was just amazing fabric that we found, and our cutter Erica, beautifully cut all of this fabric to make it so when you see that spin, it's almost like the rainbow's going in circles. And, she's such an elegant person, and Kate just really plays up that character, and anything you put on her is extraordinarily glamorous. And, it's just really fun, and, are beautiful.
If you do ensemble work and it's really working, it feels like a theater troupe. You know what I mean? It's like, if you come from theater, which I did, it's delightful. It's in this case, a lot of different people have to have chemistry with each other. There's multiple combinations of, and then there's the group as a whole. And fortunately, partly because of the humor Ryan injecting these, but also it's just, I mean, everyone in the group, I think, had a slice of clown in them, and I think it ended up being like one of those circus cars where the clowns keep piling out of it. Day after day was just a lot of laughter. Ryan is he's the best combination of qualities. He's supremely confident and in control of what he's doing. He's deeply prepared, but he's incredibly relaxed. He's a very almost disarmingly relaxed personality who doesn't overmanage. He loves actors. You always feel him covering his mouth and turning away in laughter, and in a weird way, it gives you this great feeling. Like you can tell he gets pleasure out of it. He gets pleasure out of actors. He's hoping you'll surprise him. So he's just a great combination of in command and yet not strangling or throttling a thing. He lets people do their thing, and looks for kind of unexpected magic and unexpected humor, and he's just a delight. He's a complete delight. He's one of the most easygoing and confidence-inspiring directors.
Andy. Andy is a tech entrepreneur and very smart, very witty, a genius, honestly, and a gatherer. Brings a lot of people together and makes shit happen. All the things I had done up until this point prepared me for this role, because it's layered. It goes deep. It goes a lot of different places, and so to keep track of it all, I'm so happy that I had the experience and just the well of technique to pull from. I had the time of my life with this cast. We became family by the end of the shoot. Really, by the first week, we were family. It was honestly the things that we did outside of filming that really stuck with me the most. And I think it also made our scenes together feel super like easy and just fun and lighthearted, and because we spent so much time off screen together. Like, we played murder mystery games, and we're in the middle of shooting a murder mystery film, but we did it just because we loved, interacting with each other outside of work. It didn't even feel like work. Yeah. So now I'm like spoiled. I'm like, please, my next, jobs, if I'm lucky enough to continue to keep working in this business, I want to make sure that the culture feels like the one that Rian Johnson cultivated.
Rian Johnson. I mean, it's a simple answer. It's just, the first script was a laugh out loud funny to read, and this one was, and it wasn't. It was a no-brainer, really, just to come and work with him again, and also to get to work with. We had such an amazing cast in the last one, and I thought how we were going to top that, but we've equaled it, and it's very different, and it's just. So the working experience, more than anything, just to come and be on set, making these movies is such fun. Rian had it on the page. I mean, it was so much of what's in the film as what Rian wrote, which is for all of us. But watching Ed, sort of this character of Miles come out of Ed, it's so much of acting is just reacting. And for me, that again, with Ed being so great and wonderful at what he does, it was a sort of easy job for me to sort of just bounce off him. I felt like that in Knives Out, the first one, Benoit was only staying for a night. He only was going for 24 hours, and so he kind of didn't really, he threw some clothes in a bag and took the Acela up to Boston, and that was it. So we don't really see but I always felt that he had he cared about what he looked like.
To be a part of it as such a fan of the first one, and also to be a part of something that is in the same universe, but like a different novel. In and of itself, its own entity was so special because everybody got to create and bring so much, and Rian is just so welcoming and so compassionate and giving, and loves when people like come in with ideas too. It's truly like a playful. He has such a playful, creative spirit, and it would just like permeated the whole production. Whiskey is, well, she's Duke's girlfriend. She is an aspiring influencer, but also she is aspiring to be a politician as well, trying to build a platform for herself by way of her boyfriend Duke, who is played by the magnificent Dave Bautista, and that's such a fun role to play, because I feel like as a member of Gen Z, there's so much I feel like I get to pull from and steal from people that I know, obviously, like people I see on the street, like Fairfax, and like in LA, I feel like there was so much I could pull from, and obviously, her her clothes, her costume, I feel like that was, from my first fitting, I felt like, oh, I know exactly who she is. And she's that. But I also think that I think she has a good heart. Well, I was nervous to work with everybody because I grew up watching them and admiring them on TV and movies. And obviously I'm a fan of Dave's. And I learned that Dave is just the sweetest, most compassionate person and so giving and cares so deeply about what he does. He is absolutely magnificently talented. Jenny Egan, oh my God, she is absolutely amazing, and she's so specific. Like, that's one thing for me when I see, like, your clothes are almost like, I mean, it's very much, it's self-expression, and Jenny knows, she understands that to like the nth degree. And she was so specific, and the fashion, like the choices she made for every character was like so amazing. I remember my first fitting, I told you, I put everything on and I just knew. I knew who Whiskey was.
He's like the best director. He's such a good leader, and I feel like I could talk about this for half an hour. He is very precise with what he wants, and his notes are story-based, right? So it's not like, change that, I don't like it. It's like, no, at this point, here's what we need to be feeling. And as a composer, that means the world to not just have a random note, but to understand why he's giving that note from a story motivation, from a character motivation. All of that unlocks for me what I need to do to help him tell the story that he's trying to tell. So he's kind of incredible in that he'll give story notes but create a kind of an amazing sandbox to play in. We're a 70-piece orchestra this time, which is a bit bigger for Knives Out, and we're leaning into more of that romantic, kind of 70s European string sound that I love.
He's the guy I would immediately hate. I would just not take to at all. I don't like those type of guys, but I knew he'd be fun to play. And he was written so, in such a funny manner that I knew it was going to be a blast. Then I read through the script and I thought it was just really, really great. And it was it has such a strong feel, a strong connection to the first one, but oddly enough, it's not anything like the first one. When you first meet Duke in the film, he is doing that. He's putting on this, this big charade that he lives in this, gorgeous mansion with these cars, and he's just living the high life, selling his supplements, and he's just not that at all. You meet him, and he's actually in a garage. It's kind of busted, and he's living at home with his mom. So, like, everything about him is just false. But he's trying to, put on that persona that he's, a successful person, just, again, to make his fame and fortune. I asked Ryan if he wanted me to take a look at this person, that person, and he said no. He really wanted to, he wanted Duke to be, kind of have that feel, but he didn't want to dive too much into it because he wanted to make the character still be, somewhat likable. It's got to have some redeeming qualities, and so I didn't model myself or my character after anyone. I just kind of, read what was on page. I took direction from Ryan and kind of had fun with it, and bounced off of my fellow actors.